Hello, and welcome to Joline Knits A Lot. This is my show about knitting and crafting and the things I get up to here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. How are you doing? Is it spring where you are? I feel like we're trying to get spring. We had a lot of rain this past week, and today it's cooler. But I am wearing my Flipside tee in spite of the chill. I'll be putting something much warmer on later. But I finished it. This is my Flipside tee. It's a pattern by Tanis Lavallee of Tanis Fiber Arts. And I knit it in Ritual Dyes Undine Base, which is a fingering weight cotton and linen blend. I think it's going to be great for summer. It's very, it's very cool and airy. The pattern has these lovely little eyelets, kind of lacy pattern that go down the raglan and then also down the side of the sweater. I think it's really cute. I'll pop in some pictures here, or here to show you what it looks like on, but I think it's going to be very wearable. The yarn is, it's a little crisp. Is that how we describe linen and cotton blends? It's got like a fairly tight twist, which I think will make it longer wearing, but it's not super soft at this moment. I have a feeling that, like a lot of cotton linen yarns, this will soften up as I wear it and as I wash it. I just wet blocked this and laid it flat to dry, which did amazing things for the fabric. When I was knitting it, the fabric was a bit looser and sort of definitely more uneven. And then once I just wet it, gave it a bath, lay it flat to dry, everything looks a lot more even. The fabric itself is a lot nicer too. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I made the size, I want to say 43 inch for my 40-inch bust. So there is a little bit of positive ease, but I think that's just right for me. I'm really happy with how it fits. I did, I think, extend the length of the body a little bit longer than the pattern recommends. I knit for about 12 inches and then I did, maybe I didn't extend it that long. I did 12 inches and then I did maybe 1.5 inches of ribbing at the bottom. So not quite the 2 inches as recommended. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah. Even the color on me, usually slightly tan or color, neutral colors are kind of iffy, but I think this one really works. And I think if I get a little bit more sun in the summer, as we usually do, then I think it'll continue to look really great. And I think it's something I can wear just casually or to work. So I'm quite excited about this knit. I would definitely recommend it. The pattern is very well written and easy to understand. You knit from the top down, you come back and you add the ribbing at the collar, which I actually did when I was knitting this. I knit from the top down and I knit until I had used up a whole skein of this yarn. Each ball of this yarn is 100 grams and 350 meters, which is this many yards for my empirical friends. So what I did was I just knit until I had used up the whole first skein, and then with the beginning of the second skein I went and did the little sleeves, which is really just picking up some stitches and working some ribbing. And then I also did the neckband. So all of that was done. And then I knit straight down and I ended up using 2.5 skeins of this yarn. So I do have about 1/2 skein left. I'm not sure what's going to happen to it. It may become a linen market bag at some point. I don't know. It's in the stash. So 2.5 yards, about 850 meters. Yeah, for a little t-shirt. I'm really happy with it. I think I will be able to wear this a lot, and I'm looking forward to having it soften up with wear. I have one other project off my needles, and that is my May socks. These socks, again, are from my monthly sock club this year. Last year I cranked up a whole bunch of sock tubes, and every month I would pull out a sock tube and turn them into socks. This year I'm using up some self-striping, mostly sport weight sock yarn that I have. This is from Knitspin Farm. In fact, all of my sport weight self-striping sock yarn is from Knitspin Farm. And it's self-striping. It's called Super Bloom, and it refers to that sort of magical, I guess, occurrence that happens every 7 years, I think. Isn't nature amazing in that certain things seem to happen every 7 years? It's like, I don't know, it's just this amazing thing that nature does. Anyway, every 7 years, give or take, there is a super bloom in the deserts, and that is when a lot of the plants that have been long dormant are all of a sudden either getting the conditions that they need in terms of heat, sun, water, and there's just an amazing array of flowers that burst forth. I'll show a picture here if I remember. And this is the self-striping sock yarn called Super Bloom. I use 56 stitches. I use 2.75 millimeter needles, and I did an afterthought heel. Nothing too crazy about these socks. I did apparently enjoy knitting them because I made a very long leg. I'm a top-down gal. I just like, I think what it is once I figured out how to do Kitchener stitch, it doesn't bother me, so I'll Kitchener just about anything. And I like the cast-on edge when I do a top-down sock better than my bind-off edge when I'm doing a toe-up. So that's why I do things the way I do things. I will often put an afterthought heel in when I'm making self-striping socks because self-striping socks can have the pattern interrupted if you do either heel flap and gusset or another kind of heel. I like an afterthought heel that I can just knit for as long as I want and then pop it in at the end. So these are my May socks from Knitsman Farms. And that's all I have finished today. I have been sort of picking away at a variety of different projects in the last couple of weeks. Partly I think because my daughters have been busy. There has been soccer, there's been volleyball, and so it's nice to have something easy and mindless to pick up. But at the same time, I was finding that I've been knitting a lot of stockinette, especially as I was knitting this sweater. I was finding it hard to work on it. Not because it's a difficult pattern, it certainly is not a difficult pattern, but I just couldn't, sorry, I'm getting caught up in some yarns. I couldn't keep doing just plain stockinette. I needed a change. And so I turned to my good friend. She's not my good friend, but boy, I'd love it if she was. Summerlee, and her new sock book, which I can't stop raving about. And I thought, I'm going to knit something that is slightly more challenging. So I picked the Scandiland socks. These are, when I was going through the book, I would say that these socks, to me, were the socks that were the biggest challenge. Not because they're difficult, but because there is just a lot more paying attention. And that's what my brain needed. I just needed to like focus on something and have it challenge me instead of just knitting miles of stockinette. Which, don't get me wrong, I knit miles of stockinette. I love it. I love a nice stockinette sweater. The simplicity of it, it's very classic. But sometimes I need to do something else. And so I cast on the Scandiland socks and I finished the first sock. Here it is. Oh my goodness, it looks really good on camera. I use colors very, very similar to the ones in the book. In fact, a lot of them are the ones in the book, or very, very close substitutes. So I used my good old friend West Yorkshire Spinners in the milk bottle colorway for the white all throughout. This golden color is some Knit Pick Stroll in the goldenrod color, which I don't think is the color she used, but it's very similar. It's like a mustardy heathered yellow. And then Dogwood Heather, which is the one that Summerlee recommended, and Bowie, which is this red color. And then the green is a mini that I picked up from Polka Dot Creek. She has great minis. They are 20 grams, about 100-ish meters. So perfect for this color work. And I think this, it's called Aqua Pop, I think. It definitely is a pop of aqua, and I think it's perfect with the rest of these colors. I find sometimes picking colors can be challenging in color work, especially to really get that zingy pop. So following in Summer's footsteps was a great way to like jump into that. Let me just show you what these colors look like. I won't show you the white because it's white. But here's the goldenrod. Here's that lovely pink dogwood color, and the buoy, which this buoy, I shamelessly copied Summerlee and bought a skein of this buoy. She recommends it. It's her favorite red, so I thought I'd give it a try. It's a more, I would say, orangey red than I'm used to using, but I think it's great in contrast, especially with this pink, and also I think with this. And then for the blue, as I said, I just picked up this little mini, and when I was at Polka Dot Creek in March, I just went and picked bright colors that I thought would be fun for heels and toes and socks, and this was one of them. And it is a very bright pop of color, but I think when you throw it in with these ones, it looks so good. So following in Summer's footsteps, I cast on and used, again, the same colors. I am so tangled up. Mostly the same colors that she worked, and I'm very happy with it. Now I will comment on the pattern briefly. As somebody noticed on my Instagram feed, and I noticed as I was knitting it, the colorwork pattern, as I've worked it, which is exactly the chart in the book, is not exactly the chart that is used in the book. So if you can see here, do you see how the little blue X's snuggle into the red zigzags? In the chart in the book, there is a couple of rows difference. If I had taken some time, I could definitely have worked around this. It's not impossible to figure out how to make it work. Simply remove the 2 extra rows in between these blue crosses, and then the start of the next. So the chart goes this way because it's knit top down. So if you get rid of these 2 plain pink rounds, all of a sudden your little blue crosses, this is a little wonky because that's the beginning of round, your little blue crosses are all of a sudden going to be snuggled right up closer to the red zigzag. If you wanted to make it look exactly like the book, you'd have to just offset the chart of like 4 stitches, I think, to get the top of this little cross here to fit into here. It can be done. In fact, I think if I were to knit these again, I might try to do that and just rewrite the pattern. I'm not sure if it's an error, if it's errata in the book, because there's nothing really wrong with this. This is also very pretty. My kids think it looks like gingerbread. Every time I show them these socks, they're like, "Ooh, gingerbread." But it is not exactly the picture in the book. Is that a problem for me? No, not really. Because like I said, if I wanted to knit these again and have them look exactly like the book, I could sit down with the chart and I could rejig it. It wouldn't take a lot of work. But just know, if you're going to knit this pattern, it is not exactly like the picture depicted. Am I still happy with them? Absolutely. These are going to be some super gushy and soft socks. Because all of this is stranded color work, it's basically a doubled up fabric. So most of the sock is going to be warmer, with the exception of the heel and the toe, because those are just single strands. I have cast on the second one. It is just in its infancy. I haven't quite finished the second mustard stripe, but I'm working on it. What I will show you though is that in order to get rid of that little joggy row that can happen when you're doing ribbing and changing colors, I chose to, every time I switched colors, so my first round of the mustard, I just knit. And maybe if I stretch this out, you can see that even. Can we see if there's a difference in that first row? Not really. You can see it a little bit here. So the first round, when I changed colors, I just knit. And then on the next round, I did the ribbing pattern again. And then when I switched to white, I knit the first round in white, and then I switch to the ribbing pattern, and that becomes very clean. If you didn't do this, you would get a little like purl blip right in these purl stacks. You might get one just there, which is not a problem. This is a cleaner look. So I thought I'd give it a try. I'm happy with how it's going. And then finally again here, I did one round of the mustard and then switched to the ribbing. Summer, in her wisdom, has you start out on some smaller needles. I'm a DPN girl. I don't know why. I think it's because when I started knitting socks, I started knitting on DPN, and I knit so many socks on DPNs that that's just my go-to. I have used other techniques. DPNs is my maybe comfort. I like using DPNs. I find them very easy, and I have been working on my magic loop, but still DPNs is like where I go for sock knitting. But Summer has a great video out. This is gonna be the Summerly fan club video. That's just how it is. She has a video about knitting colorwork socks. It's not these socks, but the idea is the same. So I knit on my first one and this one, I knit the cuff on a smaller sized needle. Then when I got to the colorwork, I shamelessly followed Summerly's advice, and I used a smaller circular needle. I have tried circular needles, like 9-inch needles, in the past, and I didn't love them. But I knew that for colorwork, knitting in the round on a small circumference circular needle would help give me a very smooth fabric. And in fact, I'm really happy with how this fabric turned out. It's not even blocked yet, but it's very even when not on a blocker. I don't have any ladders or any spots where you might see unevenness. It's just a very, very cohesive, smooth fabric. And so I'm very happy with the fact that I've decided to give these smaller needles a try. They're not going to become my go-to. However, for color work, I can see them being very useful. I went up a needle size in Summerly's patterns. She suggests starting on 2.25 millimeter needles, which I have done for the ribbing, and then going up to 2.75. I went up to 2.5. I thought that maybe 2.75 would be too loose of a gauge for me. And I am very happy with my gauge, and I wouldn't want it any looser. These socks fit nicely, so I'm happy with that decision. And I invested in a set of, let me get the package. Now I'm having difficulty talking. Chalgu Twist interchangeables, lace interchangeables. So I got this little combo set, which, to no one's surprise, is exactly what Summerly recommended. Sometimes you just gotta take someone's advice and go with it. So this little kit has two sets of 2.25 millimeter needles. One set is 2 inches and one set is 3 inches. It also comes with 2 cords. One cord is 5 inches and one cord is 6 inches. So you can make anywhere from a 9-inch to a 12-inch circular with this, which actually, that's interesting now that I think about it, because I do like a 12-inch circular for knitting sleeves. Fun fact. So I purchased this, and I did, again, exactly what Summer said, and I put a 3-inch needle on one side and a 2-inch needle on the other. So this gives me effectively a 10-inch needle. But for knitting color work, this was very, very nice. I put the longer needle, the 3-inch tip, in my right hand, which is, I'm not sure if it makes a difference. For me, this just felt more comfortable. So the 3-inch was in my right hand, and I was working the color work in the round with the 3-inch in one hand and the 2-inch in the other. And it took a little bit of time to get used to, but I'm really happy with the results. So I think that this is something that I'm going to be using a lot, especially for color work socks. I know that magic loop works very nicely, but for me, when I do magic loop, I can still get a little bit of unevenness when I switch. So when I pull one needle through and start knitting on the other side, at that sort of gap in between, it could be that I'm pulling too hard on the colors or whatever, but there can be a little bit of a difference in gauge there. But with this very small circumference needle, I don't have that at all. I'm really happy. And again, like I said, this isn't even blocked yet. I am looking forward to seeing what this looks like when it's all blocked and beautiful, but it's gonna wait for the other sock before it has a bath. I think I'll stop talking about Summerlee now, but if she wants to be friends, I think she's amazing. I really enjoy her work, and she has so many useful tips that I'm really happy to share with you. In fact, if you're interested in knitting some colorwork socks of your own, whether they're from Summerlee's sock book, the sock project, whether they're from her website, she's always having sales, so just follow her on Instagram, it's amazing. Or if it's some other project or pattern that you have either invented or found, I do recommend trying out the small circumference needle just to give it a try. And I'll also link to Summer's video on how to knit colorwork socks in the show notes below, because I found it very helpful, and also I find Summerlee delightful. So if I can share her with you, I'm happy to do that. And I have another pair of socks on the needles. This is like all socks all the time. After I knit that pair of gushy DK socks that ended up going to my older daughter, the dancer, I asked my younger daughter if she wanted me to make her some socks, and she said she would like some monkey socks. So who might argue? Now, not monkey like the monkey pattern from Cookie A, who another fabulous sock designer. If you're interested in intricate and challenging socks, particularly with cables or texture patterns, lace, follow Cookie A. I'll insert a picture of the monkey pattern here because everybody at one point was knitting monkey socks. Fabulous pattern. Love me some monkeys. She meant this kind of monkey though. Basically some work socks, but she wanted some monkey socks. So I had some of this lovely marled sock yarn in my stash. This is from Leo and Roxy. Leo and Roxy makes lovely kits for work socks, and so they come with this marled color, and they come with a mini of cream and then a contrasting color. I have made these socks with a teal contrast here, and I have a kit for like a hot pink one too, but Lily wanted red, and so I went with red. This is my Polka Dot Creek sock yarn in the strawberry color, which honestly, it is the skein that keeps on giving. You will see it in so many of my socks in the ribbing. If I need a red, that has been my go-to red. The buoy would be fun too, but it's just such a more like orangey red. This strawberry, for me, for a lot of things, is like a softer transition. This would be fun too. And if this is what I had, this is what I would use. It doesn't use very much at all, as you can see. I just did 6 rounds of 2x2 ribbing, 3 rounds in the red again, knitting the first round only, and then switching back to the rib pattern. And then when I switched to the white again, I knit 1 round of white, and then continued to do 6 total rounds of white. And then this is just all stockinette stitch. Again, West Yorkshire Spinners in the Milk Bottle colorway. I'm gonna need another skein of that at some point. And then again, this body sock marled yarn is by Leo and Roxy. I have started the second sock because there's a volleyball tournament going on, and I need some good knitting. Oh, now I'm all jumbled up. Here we go. I have knit the cuff, I have knit the heel, and I'm just working on the gusset. So today, watching volleyball, I'm hoping to get through the gusset and most of the foot into the toe. I don't have very much of this ball left. Good thing I have another one that I'm winding currently. And those are all the projects I have on my needles right now. It's a lot of socks. I agree. But I'm enjoying knitting socks. And I have to say, when I was looking for something challenging, something to break up all of the stockinette I've been knitting, it's been a lot of stockinette, a sock is just perfect. Like, it is small, portable. You can try techniques that are challenging, knowing that they'll be done soon. It doesn't take that long to knit a sock. And this sock flew off my needles, like it really did. I would knit through one of these pattern repeats just really, really quickly, because I'd want to get to the next color, or I'd want to see what was happening next. So for this sock, I knit one repeat, ends right there. So 1, 2, 3 repeats, and then I did the zigzag pattern again at the toe, and then I did 3 rounds of just plain pink before starting the toe, just to make sure the foot was long enough. Just a delightful pattern. Challenging, yes. If you're interested in trying color work socks, try one that just has some color work at the cuff. Like maybe you do this much color work and then the rest is stockinette. But give it a try if you're interested, because it really is delightful. And these are going to be some very cozy socks, let me tell you. Like, I can just feel how cozy they are. Let me show you the inside, and then we can see how my floats are. Not too bad. One of the secrets of getting a really good and even color work is making sure your floats are nice and loose on the back. This pattern is great. You really don't have to carry the yarn at all. And when I talk about carrying yarn, that means if you're knitting a stranded color pattern and you're having to carry up color in the back for more than, my rule of thumb is an inch. I think I got that from Elizabeth Zimmerman. But more than, let's say, 5 to 7 stitches, you need to do something with it to make sure that these floats in the back aren't ridiculously long. When you have long floats in the back, they can get caught and it can distort the fabric that you're making in the front. So if the gaps between using a color get too long, you have to do something with them. Is it difficult? No. Can you learn it? Absolutely. There are websites and there are classes. I've taught classes on how to do stranded color work myself. It's something I really like doing. But this pattern doesn't require that of you. So all of the gaps are nice and small, and you don't have to worry about any of that extra fussing. So I have been working on lots of socks, and I don't see that changing because I'm enjoying myself, which probably just means that people in my life are going to get some socks at some point, and that's just how it is. I cast on one last project, and this project is really just 3 rows of ribbing. Again, I have been sort of on this quest to knit some more summer garments. That's where this pattern, or this project, I guess, came from. It's just wanting to have hand knits that I can wear all year round. The next thing that I have cast on in that same quest is the Roman holiday tank top. It looks like this, or one of these. It's a pattern by Sari Nordland. This pattern is for DK yarn, and I am not using DK yarn. Again, semantics. I do this a lot, and I'm fairly confident in switching yarn weights because I have some experience, and I've talked about this, I think, in the past. So what I do is I take a look at the yarn I'm using. In this case, I'm using some Crux fibers, silk and linen blend. I believe it's 65% silk, 35% linen. I've used this very same blend before, and it looks like this. Oh, I love that color. And I have knit a tank top in this before. I knit the June tank top? This is my June tank top in the soft pink color. So what I did was I went and I grabbed that project and I checked my gauge on it. that project got me a gauge of about just about 24 stitches per inch. No, per 4 inch. 24 stitches in 4 inches. That's a much more suitable gauge. And so I'm basing my measurements on that. This pattern calls for 21 stitches in 4 inches. And so what I did was I figured out, based on the gauge that I got with my yarn and my needles, how many stitches I would need to make a size that I wanted. So I was aiming for a 41-inch tank top. I wanted a little bit of positive ease, but not a lot. And so I calculated how many stitches that would need, and then I chose the stitch count that was appropriate for me out of the sizes. That's what I usually do. This pattern doesn't have a number that is close to that. I'm like smack in the middle of 2 sizes when I figure out how many stitches I need to cast on for my size with my yarn and my needles. So what I've done is I've gone through the pattern and I have made my own numbers. I went in between the 2 sizes evenly. So let's say, I don't want to give any numbers away. This is a paid for pattern, but let's say the number for the pattern smaller than the size I'd like to make is 100. And it's not, that would be a very small tank top. But let's say the number for the size larger than what I want to make is 120. So I cast on 110. And I've done that with all of the numbers just for the body of this tank top. It is knit from the bottom up. So I'm just working on the ribbing, and when I get to the stockinette part, I'm just going to keep going. And then at some point I'm going to cast off some stitches from my underarm, and then there's a little shaping here. So what I'm going to do is take those stitches that I've fudged the number for, and I'll just keep making that adjustment of losing those stitches, averaging them out, so that I can make the size that I want. Is it going to be easy? There may be some hiccups. I'll let you know as I get to them. But for right now, just starting at the bottom and working up for a bunch of stockinette in the body, that's the easy part. So once I get to the part where I have to split for the front and the back of this tank top and work some adjustments, that's when the numbers are going to get tricky. And I'll let you know how I get on with that. But for now, I feel fairly confident in just casting on a bunch of stitches at the bottom and working my way up. We'll see how we get. Again, to figure out my size, I chose the size of tank top I wanted to make, and that's 41 inches. And then I took my stitch gauge. So for this, it's not exactly, but it's quite close to 6 stitches per inch. So I took 41, I multiplied it by 6, and that is the number of stitches I'm casting on. You can do this yourself. It's not difficult. If you're looking for someone to hold your hand through this process, I recommend none other than Elizabeth Zimmerman. She's written many, many books on this very sort of freeing way of knitting. So if you're looking for some help in this department, I absolutely recommend Elizabeth Zimmerman. My favorite book of hers is The Opinionated Knitter. It's amazing. If you don't want to do the, if you can't find The Opinionated Knitter, or if it's not available to you, then really any of her books are really interesting and helpful in terms of allowing you to break free from patterns and go your own way. I only have one more thing to share with you. So the last thing I wanted to share with you is my plans for next weekend. Every May, Andrea Mallory hosts a hat knit along, or a challenge, where we try and knit a hat in a weekend. This year, Andrea has come up with a new pattern. It's the Traveler hat, and she has it available in 2 weights or gauges. So you can knit it in a fingering weight, or you can knit it in a worsted weight. She recommends a nice lofty woolen spun yarn, and I have 2 from my stash that I think I'm going to cast on to make some hats. I don't know who these hats are going to be for. They might be for me. They might be for my husband. They might be for Craft for Yag, which I haven't talked about lately, but I'm still actively dabbling in. Craft for Yeg is a local, to me, charity organization that collects hand knitted and crafted things. They take crochet, they take sewing, and they distribute these things among, I think, 7 different charities. These charities vary from crafts for pets in at like an SPCA or surrendered in shelters. There are crafts for premature babies in hospitals. There are crafts for school-age children, older children, people who are experiencing homelessness, really anyone in need, and up to the elderly, particularly people experiencing dementia, who really benefit from things like fidget toys that help calm them. So you can make just about anything and they will find a home for it. So these hats are either going to be for someone here or for someone who needs it. And I have dug in my stash. I have a skein and a bit of some nice shelter yarn. I think this is left over from the sweater I made my dad. So this is going to be a worsted weight hat. And then I also have 2 skeins of this Joline yarn, which, holy cow, I'm so happy with. I bought this last fall when I went on a trip to Vancouver and Seattle with my good friend. And this is a sport weight yarn, but I'm gonna make the fingering weight out of it. Don't tell anyone. And I have 2 skeins of it, so I think this will be great. This will be a great use for it. And this will be a really nice, soft, and hopefully warm hat. In fact, I used this yarn when I made my Paul Klee pullover, and humble brag, I wore it to a big volleyball tournament that's happening here in Edmonton just this weekend as I'm recording this. And I would say 4 or 5 people that I didn't know came up to me and told me that they liked my sweater. So I think that I was attracting the knitters. So if you are one of those knitters, say hi in the show notes below. I'd love to see you here. Hi. But it's so nice when people recognize when you're wearing something that you made and like-minded people come and compliment you on it. It's one of my favorite things. So this is Joline. It's a yarn by De Rerum Natura out of France, I believe. This is the salt and pepper colorway. That's my translation. It's actually Pouve et Sel, which is French for pepper and salt, but there you have it. So this is going to be a hat. So next weekend I'm going to try it and knit at least 1 hat, maybe 2. I believe we cast on Thursday and knit till Monday. I could be wrong. I'll put details here if you're interested in joining me. This is just a fun knit along. There's no pressure. But if you'd like to try and knit a hat, I'd say join me. The Traveler hat is available on Andrew Mowry's website. It's also available on Ravelry, and I will link to it in show notes below. If you've got some stash yarn that you want to use up, like some worsted weight or some fingering, and I feel like most people have maybe one of those, give it a try. Let me know. I'd love to see your hats, and we can share and maybe compare notes. That is all I have for you today. I think that's enough. I think that by the next time, I'll have even more socks for you. I just can't stop knitting socks. And I guess that's a good thing too. The other thing, I guess, is that with all these socks that I have, I should probably be giving some to Craft for Yeg too. So I'm going to go through my sock box and see if there's any that can be slipped into my Craft for Yeg box. Just a little shift. Do you ever knit for charity? Are there any charities in your area that you like to support? I'd love to hear about them. I was really delighted when I found out about Craft for Yeg. It feels really good to be able to support so many different charities with your knitting. And they do collections 4 times a year, so there should be one coming up, I'm hoping in June. I'll have another stack to supply. I hope in the next couple of weeks that you find time to do the things you like to do. Maybe you're a gardener. I am not. I don't care for it. I like to harvest. I like to pick and to eat the things that come from the garden, but I do not like the gardening itself. If you are, you're a better person than I. I hope in the next couple of weeks your garden is great, or maybe if it's fall where you are, then your harvest is lovely. I hope that you find time to do the things that you like to do, whatever those things are. I know I plan on knitting a lot. I'll see you soon. Take care.